right, here we are. Another fantastic and exciting and amazing episode of Listen, Motherfucker. I am here today with one of the most amazing, interesting people that I haven't been able to visit with in, I think we just decided, 28 years. But, we're Facebook friends. And so did some research, and you're about to hear about all the amazing, cool shit that she is doing and has created for her life. Her name is Venus Castleberg. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dad. Nice to be here.
And so I had to educate myself on you're a spiritual polymath, right? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. And you had to look it up, didn't you?
I did. My new best friend is Chat GPT, and so it gave me probably more information than I actually needed. Right. But it explained the modalities, because you sent me a link when I first reached out to you to ask if you'd be willing to come on a podcast that had the the awesome name of Listen, Motherfucker. And you said you didn't care, which I appreciate. You sent me a link to an article that you were interviewed for OM Magazine.
Times Magazine, yes.
Times Magazine, yes. Mm-hmm. And so then I even looked that up, and it was like, yeah, it's like a sacred sound. Right? Mm-hmm. Isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
Man.
Yep.
Yeah. So
what people do in yoga. Yeah.
Okay. So, like I told you, I'm just a dumb construction worker. I've been an electrical construction worker for, God, I'm going on 33 years now. As ridiculous as that sounds. So I had to look all this up, and I think if I remember correctly, you are basically fluent in approximately 25 different modalities. Is that the correct way of saying this?
Yep, that's exactly right. Yep.
And so, which one of those, if you had to pick a handful of those that you either use the most, or you are the most fluent in, or that are your favorite, can you even do that, or is it not really that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because I have that background, I can draw on any of them in any given moment. So if somebody comes in and they require one of those that I don't use regularly, it doesn't matter. I can still draw upon it. And then just for people watching, because I know people are like, what's a polymath? Basically, it means jack of all trades. So I'm a spiritual jack of all trades. So just to really make it simple. Started 25 years ago. So 25 years ago, I started as a massage therapist. I got into hypnotherapy when I broke my arm. You can't do massage when you have a broken arm. And then that was kind of the start of my journey. But when I turned 30, I spontaneously became a clairvoyant medium, which means I see dead people. So that was not, I wasn't learning that. I wasn't in school for that. It wasn't like,
that was a surprise. And that was, you were giving a massage, right? That's the story that I read about the ranch hand that was all of a sudden standing there, and you described him, and you were like, well, holy shit. And is that the first time that is that like the first time that it was that real? Had that ever happened before, or that was literally the first time that you had seen something like that?
Well, I think that's a great question. I didn't remember it until years later. To me, that was the pivotal moment. Like, that was the big one. But I had gone to a psychic fair, and some of my friends were giving readings. And I had a lady walk up and say, I want a reading. And I said, great, they'll be ready in a minute. We'll put you on the list, whatever. She's like, no, I want you to do it. And I was like, I don't do that sort of thing. She's like, no, I really want you to do it. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. No promises. And I did describe, I don't know how, I didn't really register. And I think I kind of filed it away because, again, you don't really want to admit you're a medium. This was only a couple years before I really became a medium. And I described a guy and she's like, oh, that's my dead husband. I was like, really? So, but then I just kind of like was a one and done.
Yeah.
No.
Do you think that lady could feel that you were capable of it, and that's why she was like, no, I want you to do it?
Yeah, she must have. But then when I described her dead husband, I didn't even know who this woman was. And then I'm describing her dead husband, and I'm like, that's weird. So, but
yeah, not expecting it. Yeah, that would definitely. I'm chalking that up on the weird category list. Yeah.
Yes.
And so real quick, I got a little ahead of myself because I'm just excited. I'm excited to see you and to visit with you. We don't need to go into it, but we went to high school together in Fairbanks, Alaska, and I wish that I would have put more effort into getting to know you and to know who you were and just different things. But we had our own little clique of troublemakers that kind of cruised around and didn't necessarily go out of our way to include a bunch of other people. So,
so we can take this to a whole nother level. Thad was friends with a guy named Mike, and I dated Mike for a very short period of time. However, Mike did show up this morning. And for those of you who don't know, Mike did pass away years ago. So Mike is here.
Mike is here. Mike is here while we're doing this?
Yes. He thinks this is really funny, and he wanted me to tell you that.
Got it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. That doesn't surprise me at all.
No, I wasn't expecting him to show up. It's not like I still don't kind of like expect that to happen. It just randomly happens, and it's the weirdest people at the weirdest times. So this was like I was getting ready, and then Mike shows up. I'm like, oh, that's interesting timing.
Oh, hi. Yeah, what's up?
Hi. Yeah.
Hi. Yes, and so you have created something that is called the Psychic University and Enlightenment Academy, correct?
Academy. Yep.
And you also have a podcast and you have a weekly TV show?
Yeah, they're actually both the same now. I used to do just the podcast, but now I do the TV show, and it's both. So
got it. And you've written a book. Have you written more than one book? I know that you have Here to Forever. Is that what it's called?
Yep. Here to Forever, Finally Free to Be Me. That was actually an exploration into my dating history and how I broke free from that interesting,
yes. Yeah. And as I read your article and I was just reading more about you, I guess I'm saying this for myself. You don't care. You don't need to hear this, but I mean, I felt terrible that I wasn't a better person and that I didn't put more effort into knowing you and wishing that I knew that you struggled with who you were, or because we were our little group, we were always so cocky and always so, this is who we are, and if you don't like it, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Of whether you like us or not, we're not interested because we're in love with ourselves in our own group. I mean, I seriously, I truly felt it, that I'm like, I just felt bad for missing that opportunity to help you realize that it didn't matter, and that you were always so nice, and you were always cool, and you weren't fucking awkward and all of these things. I swear to God, I'm not looking for you to say, oh, it's okay. I had to share that was my immediate feeling of, if I could have just been less of a fucking dick douche and tuned into what was going on around me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for missing that opportunity, that I had no idea that it's something that we should have been paying attention to. That's all.
Oh, thank you, Thad. Yeah, I do look at everything in our lives. It makes us who we are. So I don't have any regrets. I don't actually look back and wish that anything my past was different, because it
Right.
wouldn't be me.
Right. Right. And who we are now could have turned out a little bit different or a lot different. So who knows?
Yep.
Got it. So, how? So
I do have
how
to
long?
call you on this because it's cracking me up. So
Tell me.
I do love that you think that you used to have an ego, but you do have a listen motherfucker podcast, and you do sit in a skull throne. So I don't think much has changed.
You are correct. You are. My wife is not incorrect. As I told you before, my wife loves to tell people that I love the sound of my own voice, and I've never seen a mirror I didn't like. Now, I've gotten older. All my hair's gone. I've gained weight, but I still am in love with myself. I mean, that's actually true. I mean, I'm my biggest fan. I just never. Hey, whatever. It is what it is, right?
And I love that about you. That's awesome.
Thank you. So, all right, let's circle back now. So, the tell me more about. I want to trust me. I have notes, and I want to go back to the beginning, and I want to walk through your journey of Africa, the cruise ship, the just life in general for Venus. But
Wow, did you
I
read
want
my
to.
book? Did you read the book?
I haven't read the book.
Oh, okay.
I haven't read the
Okay.
book. I just did. I did snippets and just took lots of information, and I did a deep dive into that. I read the entire article in Ohm Times, right, which I got a lot of this from. So before we go back, I want to make sure everyone knows about everything you have going on now and can tune into it and check it out. So tell me a little bit more about the academy and about the podcast and about the book, or if you're writing any bit more, and then I'll shut the fuck up, and then we can kind of go back from the beginning.
All right, that sounds great. Yeah, so Psychic University, because I had a spontaneous spiritual awakening at 30, that's what I call it. I learned, how to coach people. There's obviously a process that I went through to coach people in their own spiritual awakenings. Psychic development is what Psychic University is all about. And I can take somebody from not having any capacities to fully developed into their capacities. And that's been really fun to do. I've really enjoyed watching people kind of become, who they were meant to be. And then Enlightenment Academy, go ahead. Yeah.
That's in person?
Actually, it was in person, then it was online. I still do it online, but I actually am starting to look at maybe starting to do retreats for it.
Oh,
nice. I think immersive, 10-day retreats, maybe 2-week retreats, and you just get all of it in 2 weeks and go home a changed person.
And does a person need to, I'm assuming they come to you wanting to exercise this particular modality. Do they need to tell you what that is, or because of who you are, you can kind of already tell? And what the academy is you helping them cultivate and understand how to use it. Is that what it is?
No, actually, I teach in Psychic University specifically, because they're two different programs. But Psychic University specifically is for learning psychic development. Like, you want to develop your clairvoyance, you want to develop your clairaudience, all those things. Learning to listen to your intuition. I teach people the tarot. I teach my spontaneous awakening did happen after a Reiki class, so I do teach energy modality as well. So it was kind of like a taste of everything, because I figured with Psychic University, people could really figure out what they like to do and go do that. So Psychic University, we do a lot of everything, a little bit of everything. Hence the spiritual polymath.
So, understood.
Yeah. And then Enlightenment Academy is actually for people who want to become spiritual awakening mentors and teachers. So
Got
that's
it.
for another level of like, okay, let's say you develop your psychic abilities and now you want to go mentor others. That's what Enlightenment Academy is.
Got it. So, and it's, we'll get back to it. The right now, so please, that's just my sarcasm. So I mean no disrespect in any way. But when I met my wife, her mom and Tiff both, they had a group of ladies that would get together, and I heard the word Reiki for the first time. And her mom asked me if I'd ever had my chakras opened up, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And she's like, just lay down, and shut the fuck up. And she had her crystal, and I'm not sure what type of crystal it is that she still uses. She had her tuning forks, and so I'm like, okay, cool. And she's literally, I'm not a non-believer. I just never, I mean, whether we're talking religion, spirituality, any of what we're talking about today and more, my whole mindset has always been anything's possible. I'm not telling you I don't believe in that, unless you were telling me to believe that Jesus is a deity, then I would probably say, yeah, okay, now, but whatever, we won't get into that. So, anyways, sorry. Anyways, I lay down, and literally they're all giggling over how my throat was spinning, and it was going backwards, but it had big circles. But most of every other one of my chakras were closed, and it was just sitting there. And so she's doing the tuning fork, and I'm taking it all in, kind of like, and you can, whether it's the harmonics or what, but I could literally feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And 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 then her mom is just an awesome human, and I didn't not trust her. So I wasn't thinking, oh, she's just fucking with me. She's spinning that thing in circles now. And so as she opened each one of the chakras and seeing that thing just doing big circles from just sitting there doing nothing,
Right.
that was like my first experience with anything like that. And so I always teased her about telling her about her voodoo, about her witchcraft and her voodoo, and doing the Reiki. And when Tiff and I got married, we actually bought a ring from her sister who was getting divorced. And I said, well, I don't want any of the bad mojo. That, yes, that's an amazing ring. It's a great deal. So yes, let's buy it, because I know you like it, but I'm not putting that on your finger until your mom needs to do her voodoo shit, and whatever is wrong with that ring needs to go bye-bye, or I can't accept it. Right.
Right.
And so she did all of that. And what I'm getting at is, most recently, my son recently got engaged and married. And my mom, unbeknownst to me, my mom got a hold of my son and said, hey, I'm willing to contribute the Jew diamond. And we're like, what are you talking about? My son Parker, he's like, what are you talking about? And so my mom's Jewish, and so she said that she's got this diamond that she's had in her family since like the 1800s, and she's willing to give it to Parker so that he can have that history and make it into an engagement ring, et cetera, et cetera. And so they go through all of this, and it's really a long story of how they made the ring wrong first, and then it got fixed, blah, blah, blah. So I told Parker and my mother-in-law, hey, I don't have any idea. This ring is, number one, it's a Jew diamond, and it's generations old. You need your voodoo shit on this diamond. So we schedule, this is a few months ago, we schedule a time to get all together, and we're going to do candle wax in the ears. We're going to do aura, chakra opening for everybody. And she's going to do some Reiki on the Jew diamond. And so it was a sunny day, and she gets a tuning fork. I'm not sure how she chose that particular tuning fork that she wanted to use on the ring and the crystal. And she's like, she told Parker, I want both of you to hold on to it, and I want you to put it up in the window in the sun. And she looks at me and she goes, it's gonna look like firecracker. You're gonna see some sparks come out of this. And they're all looking at her like, come on. And so she does it, and she hits the tuning fork, and she has the crystal. I swear to God, I saw a couple little couple little sparkles come out of the top of that ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even Parker and Brooke saw it, and this shit just blows my mind. Okay. Now, so will you please explain to me what did I see? And then tell us a little bit about Reiki.
Cool. So, well, energy is all around us. It's just, and what we're seeing most of the time is just what we know, right? Which is the trees, the land, the computer, right? We're not paying attention to all the other energies that are around it. So, Reiki is an energy healing modality, hands-on. Depends on what state you're in. You have to be careful of that. Some states you can't touch bodies unless you're a massage therapist. But it's basically just running energy that's all around us all the time, and we have access to all the time, but we're channeling energy to, let's say somebody has a problem with their knee or something like that. You just put your hands on their knee and you channel this energy. As a Reiki master, Reiki has attunements, which means that it opens specific channels for the energy to run. So as a Reiki master, I can give people those attunements and basically open their channels. So explain Reiki. Good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so it's possible to use that on an inanimate object?
Yeah, because so something that I know, just because I've had an experience of it, but so this might sound a little crazy to you guys, but I'm just going to share something that I've seen. At one point, my spiritual team, spirit guides that are with me all the time, you have your own, just asked me to see everything as it is. And instantly, everything, them, you, the computer, the desk, everything was this golden light. It was all the same. You know how everybody says we're all one? This was like, oh, now I see how we're all one. We're all made from the same material. You hear people talk about it all the time. Like there's the space in the wall is the same as the space in you, right? So they're starting to like scientifically talk about this, but now it's like we just all are the same energy. So we're all made from the same molecules, atoms, right down to the core. So ultimately, we're all this golden energy. So the diamond is a golden energy. Now, crystals in particular hold memories. So I don't know exactly what happened, but what I would hypothesize what happened to the ring was that she was clearing it. And so some of the memories that you're trying to clear out, because that was your intention anyway, it's like, I want all the bad juju to leave, right? I want all the stuff that's imprinted in here that's going to bring any havoc or anything like that. That's the stuff when you're doing clearings or tuning forks or Reiki, you're pulling out or the bad, or you're inviting the bad to go away.
And that's a real thing. There is negative energy as much as there is positive energy, and it doesn't mean that we're talking evil here. It's just one, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I liken it to think that, yes, there is dark energy or negative energy, but what I believe and what I've come to know is that negative energy is created by us. It's a belief system. Yeah. Because when you look at everything as it is, it's all the same. But there is no there's negative energy hiding over there in the corner and everything else is a golden light. No, everything's a golden light.
Well, and I was very intrigued by your explanation of learning how to deal with dark energy for yourself was not being afraid of it. And as soon as you opened yourself up to the curiosity of what is it, then there is no power to be held. There's no power to be held over you. And so it doesn't mean that it's no longer dark energy. It just doesn't have a power over you. Is that that's an accurate description of how you feel?
Yeah, I'll always tell people there's no one and nothing more powerful than you unless you believe it is. So it's our beliefs that create our realities. It's our beliefs that create, I'm at the effect of something. And I had a client just a couple of days ago, and she had been trained by somebody else, and no names here, and I don't need to, that's not the point. But she had been trained for mediumship to like sit in the power for an hour, surround herself with energy and light and bubbles to protect herself. And I was just like, I don't know who told you that, but that's crazy. Like you do not need to protect, like if you are the dominant energy and you know that nothing can harm you, then there's no reason to like sit in the Zen energy for an hour and meditate and surround yourself. I'm like,
right. Seriously, no, that makes perfect sense. Even to this construction worker mind, that makes perfect sense.
Awesome. So, but that's taught a lot these days. It's like we have to protect ourselves. We have to and I'm like, you don't. But if you believe that you can be affected by things, it's the same like people, right? So let's say there's somebody in your life that doesn't treat you that well. You have a choice to keep putting yourself into that energy, or you can be the dominant energy and leave.
Right.
Like, it's a choice. It's the same with the spirit realm. It's like, oh, there's a dark energy over there. I don't really want to mess with it. Okay, leave. Like,
right.
Exit the room. Like,
be done with it.
Yes. Yep.
Got it. Okay, so I understand the academy, and I think that is and you're transitioning it into something different than it has been. Was that true? That's what you were getting ready to say, as far as how you were available to teach people?
Oh, well, the Enlightenment Academy is on the newer side. So Psychic University was what I did for a few years, and then now it's like, okay, now I'd like to train the trainers, coach the coaches. Yeah.
Two different things, hence the word and.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
So tell me about the podcast. What's the name of your podcast, and how often do you do it, and what do you do? What do you talk about?
Awesome. Well, I've had podcasts off and on for 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. So I've done different ones, definitely. I started with Outside the Impossible. I did that for a couple years. I had one called Being Naked, but it was all about vulnerability, but it was great, play on words. So,
right.
And then recently I have a TV show that's also a podcast called Ascending. And it really is just about the ascension process and how we evolve as beings.
Got it. And is there an easy way to give me the cliff notes to someone like me? What does that even mean? What does it mean to evolve?
Well, we're always learning, right? So I think the target for a lot of people who are considered light workers is to have a world where we're not fighting and at war. And you know what I mean? Like, there's just, and maybe not everybody feels that way, but there's definitely a group of people that are like, what would it be like if we just lived in harmony? And
yeah.
Not that we didn't have differences of opinions, but we also don't need to be out there shooting each other over religion. So since we're on Listen Motherfucker, I think I could talk about anything.
Yes. So. That's completely, yeah. More people have been killed at the idea of religion than anything in the history of the world. I mean,
Right.
It is ironically tragic that that's what most people have been killed over. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. So I believe in a world without war, a world where we can live in the light, where we can see everybody as our brothers and sisters and not as, something to push against. I thought it was funny when you reached out to me and you're like, my name of my podcast might deter you. I'm like, no. Language, like, again, it's like, why would we create separation over language? Like, it's like, I don't believe in bad language or good language.
Yeah, neither do I. Right? Seriously, it's like, who chose that was a bad word? Who?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I've never understood a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So ascending is just an invitation to look at things differently. So, and sometimes I have guests on. I recently did a How Do You Know You're Not Crazy summit where I interviewed a bunch of people who've have their own spiritual awakening and their own journey. And the point was to just, for those people, there's a lot more people right now having spontaneous spiritual awakenings. Some of you who even just hang out with me on this podcast might have one. I'm an activator, so that's just something that happens sometimes. And what do you do with that, right? So sharing stories, letting people know that what they're going through, they're not crazy, how to deal with it, tools to like help them process, work through it. I always do a guided meditation visualization on that podcast, almost all the time. Sometimes interviews, take a little longer, but and that's always on the topic at hand, just to help us grow together.
And your energy is so great that that's why you're considered an activator, is that your energy is large enough or flows freely enough that it can pull it from someone else.
I don't know how it works. I haven't really figured that out, but I've just had people like hang out with me and then suddenly their dead father comes to visit them. And I'm like,
I read that.
That happens often. So I just started calling it activator. Some people call it influencer. It's like, there's just an energy that I am. It might be an invitation because I'm not afraid of my gifts anymore. And like, when you see somebody else it's not afraid, you're like, oh, well, maybe I don't need to be afraid of that either. So it's possible that people are then lowering their walls and barriers and allowing that in. I think it's going to be happening more and more with the general public over the next 10 years. And so, as people
why
are
do you feel that way? What's changing that you think that you actually feel that way?
Well, the numbers. Like, I've honestly seen more and more people spontaneously waking in the last couple of years. So I'm like, that's not a number that's just going to start to go down. I believe it's just going to keep going up.
And do you think that is because that the younger generations, or even our you know what I mean? All generations are just, it's becoming more widely accepted to not look down upon things like this, or that more people are open to this being real instead of this. We're going to hell. I can't even talk about this, or I'm going to burn in hell.
Right. Yeah. Those of us who had the religious upbringing had to deal with that part. Yeah. So I think, it's probably both. It's like more open-minded kids. They come in more open, right? So they're like, it's not a big deal, right? Even parents now that like have kids that can see spirits or whatever, there's less of them going, no, that's not real. Whereas in our time as kids, it really was like, you're imagining things, we'll do an exorcism on you. You're,
no, really. I mean, it was, whether it was us watching movies, TV, or just talking to live other people, it was evil. Yeah. That's the only way it was described, was something evil and an absolute negative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I completely agree that scene, thankfully, you know what I mean? That's starting to not be the case as much as it was.
I'll work with people too. And sometimes they'll be like, I'm afraid of like being burned as a witch or crucified or whatever. And I'm like, well, thankfully we're not in that time anymore. Right. Like, it's just, you have to just remind people like, they're not doing that anymore. Like, that's like, not the normal,
I agree. I thought I wrote it down in my notes, but I didn't, and I should have, because my memory sucks. So what is the name of the otherworldly?
Are you talking about like alternate realities and dimensions, or are you talking about like my Facebook group?
No, I don't know if it was I don't know where I read it, but I know that I was reading it with you.
Oh,
I
you're
think,
talking about aliens.
yeah,
Aliens? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But
Okay.
doesn't it start with a V? What does it start with?
A
What's the
V.
name? There's a name for that group, or just that. God, I can't believe I didn't write it down. I'm so sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, and I'm not catching what you're saying, but we have ascended masters. There's those are usually people who had a body at one time and then ascend, which is kind of why the ascending broadcast, right?
Yep.
And then there's ghosts, there's deities, there's aliens, there's like all these other beings, angels, earth keepers. They all have a different frequency that vibrate on a different dimension.
And you feel like you're connected to all of them?
Yeah, yeah, I can tap into all of them. I wouldn't say I'm well, I have this all the time. People find out I'm a clairvoyant medium and they're like, who do you see around me? I'm like, my sight is shut off most of the time. Like, I'm not wandering. I would be like the most distracted ADD person you'd ever,
Right.
like, I'd be like, so I'm like, if you pay me and you come in for a session or you're in one of my classes or you're on my free live stream, then you can ask me questions and I'll talk to you there.
Yes, you've actually learned how to turn it on or off, correct?
I actually learned that early on, and it was work for my team to like get me to like turn it on.
Really?
Oh yeah,
To
when
turn
I
it
first
on.
became turn it on, because it turned on, and then I was like, no, shut it off. Like, I was like, I don't want that. Like,
Right.
one of the things that I struggled with as a child was being different, right? My name was Venus. What does it rhyme with? I'm tall. I was just always
Right.
awkward.
Yep.
Thanks for saying I wasn't awkward, but I felt awkward.
Right.
Always trying to like fit in with whoever, whether it was, I was always in the middle of the road because I didn't want to stand out. And so I spontaneously become a clairvoyant medium at 30, and I was like, abs-fucking-lutely not. No. Like, no way. Take it back. There's got to be a return receipt or something. Like, I don't want this. Like, I don't want to be weirder than I already am or different, So, yeah, no, at first I was like, 3 years I resisted it. I was like,
And so prior to the age of 30, whether it was as a child, in high school, anytime before 30, can you think back now that you are so in control of it and so open? Are there memories that you have of like, oh, that's what or did it really nothing that you can think of prior to that moment?
That's a great question. So I did have an imaginary friend who was a little tiny dragon when I was 5, 6, young, little. And I'm pretty sure that, yep, I shut it down as soon as I got into school, right?
Got
Because I
it.
was already being teased as,
Right. You're Venus.
and so, yeah.
Right.
And so, and I love it when people ask me, did you give yourself that name? I'm like, I don't think I would have chose that one. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's cool now that we're older, right? Or at whatever age,
yeah.
you're like, yeah, I fucking love my name. But when you were a child, you're like, God, no, I wouldn't have chose that.
Right. So, but yeah, then I didn't experience anything. In my 20s, I did a lot of drugs. So there was some things that I was like, not entirely sure that was imagined. You know what I mean? But I could blame it on the drugs, like, oh, that's the drugs.
Right.
But when I turned 30, I quit doing drugs and alcohol. I even went vegetarian, vegan for a while, like just to clean my system out. And then that's when I had my spontaneous awakening moment.
Got it.
So I'm sure I probably like hid it or numbed it or, lots of alcohol, as we know in high school.
Yeah. And so now that you look back on that little dragon, what do you think it was?
Yeah, so her name is Sally Entity, and she's actually a shapeshifter fairy, and she's been one of my spirit guides my whole life. So
Still to this day.
Yeah, she's still here. She's sitting right on the computer.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. But in my child mind, I think she knew that I couldn't wrap my mind around a little fairy. I mean, fairies weren't a big deal when I was a kid. We were in Alaska, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I was in nature, but I could wrap my head around a baby dragon. I was just like, absolutely. So,
And is your belief that we all have that, we're just not open to it? So if
yeah,
I was,
you mean you all have spirit team, a spirit guides?
yeah, pretty, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's an imaginary friend or a spirit guy or whatever, right?
Right.
Ghosts,
Yep.
spirits, anything of what you were just talking about. It, because we are all in that energy, or we're all part of the same energy, if we were open to it, we all have it, and we would just understand it.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's something that when I work with people in Psychic University, the whole point is to develop their capacities, because everybody has a strength. So mine was vision, like I could see things, but I couldn't hear things, because I one time I heard a ghost crying outside my ears, and I shut that down quicker than anything in my life.
Yeah.
I was like, voices outside my not happening. So and so for a long time, my spiritual team would show up, but then they'd have to play charades, because I shut down my hearing so strong. And I love that you called me out on that, because I'm like, you're right. I shut that down when I was a kid, and I wasn't even possibly open to it until I turned 30, you know.
But I mean, which is understandable, right?
Yeah.
I would say that a huge percentage of all of us would either intentionally, not even knowing that we were shutting it down,
Right.
but that we would, right? Because of how we were all raised, or because of what we have been led to believe that any of this could be or means, that I think that most people's instant response and intuition is going to be, oh, holy shit, right? Like,
right.
I don't know that I'm shutting this down, but I'm shutting this down.
Yeah,
right?
Totally. Yeah. And as kids, we just all want to fit in, right? So on some level, like it's like we have like you said, our cliques or our little groups where we feel like we fit in, we belong. Well, that's true it's human nature now. It's like we all want to belong somewhere, right? But as long as you don't use, your gifts or capacities or what you're aware of as a separation, and you just find the group or the people that you can be around, and it's okay.
Do you believe in heaven or hell?
No, I do.
And
I do. I'll say this though. I will elaborate a little more. So I do believe that heaven is available here on Earth, and a lot of people are creating hell on Earth.
Yeah.
Right. But it's your point of view creates your reality. So your belief system is creating what's going on around you. So if your life is just constantly like crap, there's some sort of innate belief you have that's creating that crap, or maybe you have a belief that you don't deserve better, and that's what creates the crap, right? So that's also some of the work that I do, is changing people's belief systems.
Do we all have a spirit that will live in this realm forever?
So, yeah, I mean, maybe on different dimensions. Basically, just you might choose to not have a body again, but we've come back many, many times. We've had the whole reason why you're not a serial killer in this life, and there might be somebody watching that is. It's okay, no judgment. But if you're not a serial killer in this life, then that is because you were in another life and you decided you didn't want to do that anymore, and so you don't do it. So who you've become, your evolution, who you've evolved into, has come from your many lifetimes of trying things and being like, yeah, that didn't really work out for me, I don't want to do that. Hence the reason why some people are like, I'm afraid I'm going to get burned as a witch or crucified or whatever. Some of them have been. But there was only a handful of people who were ever burned as a witch. So the fact that you think that you are, maybe not. because there weren't that many of them, right? But there's
Got
still
it.
that fear that says that could happen, and it's like, where does that come from? Does it come from a memory? Does it come from a, you know what I mean? Does it come from a knowing that, hey, that happened to somebody I know, or, I experienced that, and then you bring it into this lifetime and you're like, oh, I'm afraid of that, and then you have to work on letting that go, because it's not, your past lives aren't relevant except for the fact that they got you to where you are now. It's the same thing as what I was saying about the beginning of my life to now. Like, I'm so grateful because I am who I am now
Yeah.
because of what I chose in the past. Mm-hmm.
And so is that reincarnation, or is that?
Yep. 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 Reincarnation. Yep.
And so so someone's spirit, whether in my past life I could have been a puma,
yep,
or an eagle, or whatever, right? I mean, as far as the energy goes, you feel that it's all, I mean, it's everything.
It is everything. There are different people that believe different things. I mean, I've had spiritual teachers that don't believe that you could have been an animal in another lifetime. But I think you have to figure out what's true for you. Like, I'm definitely not here, and I'll always say this on my broadcast too, is like, I'm not here to change your point of view. I'm not here to, have you sign up for religion, Venus. No, thank you.
Yes.
I'm here to like invite you to like look in your own life and what works for you. And so if you don't believe in reincarnation, awesome. You don't have to. Like, it's your journey for you to find your own way. I'm just talking about like what I've discovered for myself. I've done past life regression. Like, I've actually trained in that and done it with people. And I've had enough experiences that I have memories now of past lives. So I'm like, I know they're real. I just don't believe they're relevant, which is different than a lot of people put a lot of stock in their past lives. I'm like, your past is your past. It's like, going back into your past isn't going to necessarily change things. You can change things from where you are right now and work on it right now. I think that that's way more important than trying to figure out like where this fear came from.
Yeah. Do you believe that karma is real?
I'm going to say I know that people create karma because they believe it.
Got it.
So if they believe in karma, then they're going to play that karmic wheel. But I always talk to people like, you're literally on a hamster wheel and you have the choice to get off the hamster wheel. So you can break the karma cycle. You can choose something different, but it's a conscious choice. Like, okay, all this stuff I've been playing out. Yeah.
Yeah. I've said 100 times in my life, especially since I was diagnosed, that I had to have been a shitty person. I clearly was a shitty person in other lives, and this is just karma coming back. Or even in my, I wasn't always a good person in my current life, and it's just the world coming back to show me that it's the atonement that I need to pay for whatever I've done at some other point. I guess, I don't know.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Truth, do you believe that you actually paid your dues yet?
No.
Okay. Well,
I wish that I would have, because right. I truly wish, I believe what you believe, that I was just having a conversation with someone the other day that when I'm thinking about, when I'm on Facebook and someone just had something stolen, or this negative experience, whether it's war in the world or something in my own community, when something happens to a good person or just something happens in general, I just shake my head, and because I'm not religious and I don't believe I don't believe in good and evil in a biblical sense. I believe it in, to me, it just takes effort. Why is someone putting the effort into being a fucking piece of shit? Why are you making the conscious choice to not care how you're affecting someone else? If you want to fucking destroy your own energy and your own shit in your own life, whatever, do whatever. But the fact that you're willing to put other people through it why? You know what I mean? And so I wish I could say that my dues have been paid, because I know that in my heart, I'm a fucking good person, that none of us are perfect, but I know that if I had to tip the scales once, that I'm not ashamed, you know what I'm saying? And so, but my gut tells me that I'm probably not done paying my dues.
Gotcha. Well, again, the belief that will create the reality. So if you can also choose to just go, hey, I did the best I could with the tools I had at the moment, and oh well.
Are you telling me that I should feel like my dues are paid, and if I don't,
get off the hamster wheel? Just get off the hamster wheel
and just live.
You don't have to pay any more karma debt. No,
it does.
There's not anybody up there saying you have to pay a debt. The debt that you think you have to pay is internal.
Got it.
So it's just like, okay, I choose to not believe I need to pay a debt anymore. My parents were perfect. No, I don't know if anybody's parents were perfect.
Right.
But they did the best they could with the tools they had. We are doing the best we can with the tools we have. So we didn't, we had people who impacted us in earlier years. We kind of did some of the same crappy things that our parents did. Well, is that on us? Is it on them? I don't know if it's on anybody. I think it's just like, that's just what we knew. And then,
it's a fucking learned behavior.
Right. And then we just chose something different.
Yeah. Until we get
You're choosing something different clearly now.
Right.
Dad. So
as we're sitting here, as we're sitting here and you are who you are, do I have tools that I should be more aware of?
You have tools that you... I think some stuff would really open up for you if you forgave yourself for the past.
Yeah. I reckon you're probably right. Yeah. So what's so interesting about my wife and I is we've always, and this is so silly. So she's had experiences as a medium, and she shut them down because she just wasn't sure how to deal with it. Like in the group that her and her mom and the ladies were in, right? It's like they were having a prayer circle or just an energy, not, they weren't religious, but they were together and they were all trying to send positive energy to someone that it was in their circle that was sick and that was in a battle and hospitalized. And Tiffany literally in the middle of all of that had that woman standing in front of her, smiling and giggling. And Tiffany knew that she had literally just died or died in, as they're fucking sitting there. Right.
Right.
And she told a couple of the people or whatever. And I like maybe your first or whatever, she was like, holy shit, and kind of shut it down. And her daughter used to sit in the window and talk about the two kids that were playing in the yard that no one else could see. Right. And so I know that Tiffany and her mom have always been tuned in at some level of that type of energy. And so just the other day, Tiff and I, we have 200 acres of logging property. We don't own it, but we live up against it and we know the people that own it. So we're out there and we mess around on it, whatever. Right. So we're out there walking the dogs along these logging roads. And they logged a few years ago, and there's a tree stump of a huge tree they cut down. And it's a big, a refrigerator sized tree stump that's 12 feet tall. And we walked by it. And as I'm walking by it, I'm thinking, God, I would love to carve that into, have a chainsaw guy come out, carve that into a Bigfoot. It would just be hilarious. And we go down and we're fucking with the dogs and we get to our little area in the opening and we turn around and we're coming back. And as we're walking by, she goes, God, I wish I just had useless money. I just had useless money. I'm like, why? Because you'd carve that thing. And she goes, well, yeah. And it's, I don't know what that is, but so many times her and I, it's like we have, in a matter of minutes, are inside of each other's minds, knowing what is being said. It's just so strange to me.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all really aware. It's just that nobody's ever said, hey, yeah, you're aware. Like, I mean, how many times have you like walked by somebody in the grocery store and you're like, all of a sudden your knee starts hurting, or, you have some sort of like, I don't know, you feel sick to your stomach or something like that. And you like look over and the person looks like they're sick or they're all hunched over. It's like, you're super aware of everyone. I call everybody psychic SpongeBobs. You're just walking around picking up everybody else's stuff all the time. And that's one of the best tools that I even learned from Access Consciousness, was just to be like, ask a question. Is this that I'm aware of? Is this mine or someone else's? And if it's somebody else's, just return to sender.
Interesting.
Yeah, because we are often trying to process or heal or fix something that's not even ours.
Is there one of the modalities that you're comfortable with?
Mm-hmm.
Are there some that are more frequently used or more helpful than others, or does it not work that way?
Yeah, it kind of just depends. Like in my normal everyday life, like what I use and what I, like I'll do on podcasts and stuff like that, Access Consciousness tools, hands down. They change things the fastest. They create the lasting change. I love them. But because I teach psychic development classes, that's not Access Consciousness, right? So psychic development is different than Access Consciousness. So it just depends on what I'm doing.
Got it. So if you're walking by somebody in the grocery store, you're not just all of a sudden seeing their future.
No.
And feeling like you need to stop them and go, hey, you're getting ready to fuck your life up. So what I need to tell you, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm helping you. That doesn't happen.
No. And as a matter of fact, early on, I learned that I could set the parameters, because I resisted it for 3 years. And then when it became evident to me that it was like I could shut it off and turn it on and all that stuff, I had a couple people in my life who found missing children. And at the time, I was not emotionally stable enough. I was like, no way. So I said right out of the gate, I'm like, I'm not finding missing children. You're going to have to take that job to somebody else. So, so you can set the parameters. So I also said, I'm not going to approach strangers in the grocery store. It's not going to happen. You have to pay. People have to pay me, come see me, and ask me to do this for them.
Right.
So, yeah.
which is completely understandable. If you know what I mean?
Right.
That's the reality of the world, that if what you possess, what you've cultivated and opened up is still rare, you know what I mean? At least in my mind. And so knowing what you're capable of and the effort that you've put into cultivating what you're capable of, then why wouldn't you get paid for it? I mean,
Right.
it's just the nature of the world.
Right. Well, and I have found though that it's not actually kind to just go up and spew stuff at somebody who didn't ask for it. Like, it's like, they're, most of the time they're going to be in shock and they're going to be like, I don't, so even when I first became a clairvoyant medium, I was doing a lot of massages. That was my primary. But then while I was massaging, I would have spirits come into the room. This became a normal thing for a few years. And I would always ask the person on the table, I know this sounds weird, but a spirit just walked in the room. Are you open to hearing from them, about them, whatever? And only one person ever told me no, and it was a guy that was a friend of mine. And he said, I just don't believe in that stuff. And I was like, great. I'm not going to try to, if I had described the person, I would have literally been changing his paradigm and what his belief system was. I was like, that's not a kindness to anyone. So I was like, as soon as he said that, I didn't mention it ever again. It was just like, okay, cool. Like, but that's how I've always addressed it. Like it's like permission based.
Got it.
Me just going around telling people stuff that I see, which I don't. I also not just ran. I'm not reading you right now. Like again, that would just be really distracting all the time to be like, I'm reading this person. I'm picking this up. I'm like, I got enough going on over here. I don't have to worry about your stuff too.
And feel free to shut this down. But my question is, and we don't need to go. I mean, you can go in the past, but I'm only speaking of present. In choosing a partner in life or cultivating that relationship from its beginning to its now, it's today. Did you have to make a conscious effort to be wide open, not spiritually, but wide open vocally about this is who I am, and make sure that they understood that, so that I don't want to fall in love with you and then have you all of a sudden go, holy shit, and be all uncomfortable or fucking awkward or whatever. I mean, is that something that you had to, from the age of 30 moving forward, is that something that you had to figure out how to deal with? And now you, at our age, now you're fine with it. You're good.
Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah, at times, but the guy that I was practicing Reiki on that had the spirit walk in the room, that was his ranch hand, that was actually my fiance at the time. So, and he was super like, cool, tell me all about him. Like he was always like that. Like he was really open. And I thank the universe for our 7 years together, because him being constantly like, cool, tell me more about that. Like just helped me go, okay, if he's open to talking about it, then I can talk about it. You know what I mean? But then when I entered back into the dating realm, I'm sure that there was a period of time that I didn't tell anyone, and I didn't, just kind of kept it to myself. And then I, worked through my relationship stuff and realized that if I wasn't in partnership with somebody who was choosing to grow, choosing to evolve, that wasn't open-minded, it wouldn't work out. And and then I'm married again, and that's my husband now. So anything I tell him, he's like, awesome. So like,
got it.
Yeah. So I think it's important for everyone, no matter where you are. And I do have a lot of women that are married and their husbands are not open, and they have a spontaneous spiritual awakening, right? So what do you do there? So I'm very big on like, please only talk to people that can understand you, can receive from you. Do not tell your husband all this stuff if he can't receive it. And you don't need somebody in your ear telling you you're crazy. You're already doubting yourself right now. So please.
Yeah, it's almost like you're inviting negative energy that's either going to confuse you or muffle what it's. To me, when I think about that scenario, it's like, if that's someone that close to you, or a friend or whoever, and you tried to share this and they're looking at you like you're crazy, or telling you that you're fucking crazy or whatever, well, then now you just completely stirred the pot in a negative way of you trying to figure out what the fuck's even going on for yourself.
Right. Yeah. Usually judgment will solidify it. So it's like, oh yeah, I must be crazy because now they're telling me I'm crazy too. Right. So.
Is it something that you still deal with? Like if you're meeting new people and they're like, oh, what do you do? Do you...
Well, I'd love to say that I do. I don't. I've finally got to a point in age in my life that I don't really fucking care what people think about me. I'm like, whatever. Like, if you don't like me, you think I'm crazy, it's okay.
Yeah, whatever.
But for a long time, even the husband I'm with now, we've been together 8 years. Even early in our relationship, he'd go around telling people as a medium, and I'd be like, "Stop telling everybody I'm a medium." Like I'd just be like, "Stop it." And then I finally just realized how silly that was, because it's just like, yeah, it's one of the many things that I do. But yes, I am a clairvoyant medium still to this day.
Got it. And do you think that's changing? You can see that changing, that there's less people that they hear that statement, and there's less people that immediately look at you like, what? As opposed to like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's definitely less. And I think like I did a couple things in my life. Like I basically, in my book, I told all my secrets. I published a book. It went new release bestseller. So it's like all my secrets are out there in the book. And then this Om Times magazine interview. I mean, those questions were sent to me, and I was like, okay, I guess it's time to just tell the world, right?
That
So
was
I have
intense. Seriously,
yeah.
serious. I swear to God, I was so proud. I was literally proud of you. Not that I'm in a person that can be proud of you or that you need that, but I mean, as I'm reading that, and you were that open in that article with your journey. I mean, I wish there is a way that I could have 1 million people read that article. What? Sorry.
That's okay.
My phone is talking to me. I apologize.
It decided you were
Jesus.
talking to it.
Yeah. Holy. Yeah. I don't know what energy that was in this room. Not sure why she thought that she'd try to talk. My relationship with Siri is fucking terrible. My relationship with Alexa, fantastic. Siri is a fucking stupid bitch. Anyways, yeah. So in reading that, man, it was just so awesome because those questions, that interview, and what they were, I mean, those were intense. That was a lot of intense vulnerability sharing on you literally just opening wide open, and like, here it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my husband sells insurance, and we have a whole insurance company, and some of those people have read it, and we're like, I had no idea. I was like,
Right.
Because I don't go broadcasting it to people who can't receive it. Like, what's the point? It's not kind to them. It's not kind to me. So
Get it. Yeah. No, I thought that was really cool. And that's where I was trying not to use the word alien because people just immediately freak out about it. But it was
extraterrestrials. We'll call them extraterrestrials.
So you talked about there's the extraterrestrials that are almost like, if you wanted to use the word godparents or whatever, right? But there's a name for them. There's a name for their group. I can't remember what you referred to them as.
Oh, the collective.
Yes.
The collective. Oh, okay.
The collective. Yes. Jesus. Yes. So you talked about the collective and you being so, regardless of how difficult it is for so many people to believe is real, but you truly believe in the collective as almost like the masters of energy, or at least not the creators, but I mean, they're just so far and above, like they're tapped into the universe's energy. Isn't that true? That's what you think?
Yeah, so I am a channel for the collective. So that means I bring messages from the collective from Syrian. Some people have heard of them. They're actually from different extraterrestrials from different star systems. So there's a whole bunch of different ones. They call themselves the collective because we're all one, right? It's all like they're just speaking what we even know out of, maybe we don't know it cognitively, right, in our head, but we know on a cellular level the truths of the universe. Like, we know we're all connected. Like, we just do. Like you said, you're walking with your wife in the woods, and you're like, how are you here and I'm there? Because we're one. We're the same, right? So, and not that we don't have our own individuality and uniqueness of expression in this life, but when it comes down to it, the universal truths are all the same. So, yes, they are. But if you talk to anybody who channels, they basically are channeling a being from another dimension that has something to share. So that's how I like the channeling thing is like, okay, there's beings without bodies that have something to share. Now, I wouldn't channel a ghost or somebody who's stuck here, thinking, not knowing they don't have a body. Like, that's not the kind of channeling. Like, I channel masters, I channel teachers, I channel people, beings that can contribute to making the world a better place, not lower dimensions or the entity realm per se. That makes sense. Yeah.
And I mean, and if someone to me, in my mind, if someone struggled to believe that like what you just said, holy shit, this chick has fucking lost her mind. But if you are willing to look at a picture, an image from the James Webb Telescope, and realize that it's showing you galaxies that are multiple lifetimes away, and how many stars and solar systems and planets that exist. And
Right.
that's the science, the reality of the science. If you're willing to understand that what you're looking at is actually real, that when you look in the sky and the moon is actually there and other stars and planets, then how is it impossible to believe what you just said
Right.
isn't possible? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's strange. I think that strange is the word I want to use. I mean, it's strange for me to think about because I'm not clairvoyant, or I'm not tuned into that energy or capable of channeling the energy. And is there, when you say Syrian, is that not? Did you say Syrian?
Serious, yeah. Some people serious. It's a Syrian council. Some people have called it
Got
just
it.
different words for it. So yeah, they
Got
came to me, and then this wasn't very long ago. Like they came to me and they're like, just call us the collective. And of course, in the human reality, we're like, why don't you tell me your name? Or like, and they're like, no, because we speak as one. Like they're like, it's not one. We're not separate here. So us being embodied, we have a lot more physical experience of being separate, but in the other dimensions and other frequencies, there's no separation. So
Got it.
yeah. So I think for the collective really had to be like for me, they were like, we're just speaking as one. So just call us the collective. Like,
Got it. And is that something that you don't speak of a lot, or you talk about it if you're asked about it, or you share it on your podcast, or I mean, it just as anything, you talk about it if there was a reason to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, if people ask me about it, I do. You did ask if I was writing another book. I believe I'm channeling one. so
Really?
so that may yeah. I've just been channel writing for a little while, and I'm like, is this a book? And I haven't gotten a clear like, yeah, this is a book for now. For now, I do. Oh, that I do though. I have a blog, a column on Om Times Now, and that's a channeled message once a month. And then I have an email list, and I send out channeled messages in my email list as well. So I am contributing it to people who know me. No, do I go announcing it to everybody that I channel? Not really. But if you read my article, I do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Huh. And so, how long ago did you write your book?
Here to Forever was actually written almost cover to cover. God, was that 10 years ago now? I think it was 10 years ago now. And I wrote it in like 3 months. I moved to Hawaii. I wrote every day. And like in 3 months, I wrote a book. And then it took me 6 years to publish it. I had 3 different editors tell me I needed to rewrite it or do it differently or whatever. And as a last ditch effort, I sent it to a friend of mine and said, who's a writer. And I said, can you read this and just tell me if maybe I'm way off track or, need to rewrite it or whatever. And she called me 3 days later and she said, I don't read anymore. I don't have time. She says, I couldn't put your book down and I wouldn't change a thing. So I self-published and went new release bestseller. So I was like, I guess.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And it was your life story up to that point? I mean, is that basically what it was?
Yeah, that was more, I mean, it does have some of the like becoming a clairvoyant medium in there, but that was really my journey with relationships, like looking for love in all the wrong places, really trying to find the one, that doesn't exist. And
right.
sorry if I burst anybody's bubbles out there. there's not just one being in all of the universe for you. So,
You
but
don't believe
then
in you don't believe in a soulmate.
not the way, not the traditional way that people do. I mean, I believe that we have lots of soulmates. You have best friends that you're like, I feel like I've known you for lifetimes. It's like, that's a soulmate, right? But no, I don't believe that there's only one soulmate out there.
Yeah.
I don't.
Do you
So,
believe that some of us are more connected than the rest?
oh, sure. I mean, some of us have had more lifetimes together than the rest, right? So you're familiar with them because you've already done it 10, 20, 30 times before. You're like, oh, okay, I know you. You know, you ever have that where you meet somebody, you're like, I know you. They're like, we've never met before. But you
Yeah.
know that you've met them before. Not in this
Interesting.
lifetime, but probably another, you know. So my endless search for the one, but then ultimately breaking through that and realizing that I was always the one I was searching for.
You were the one you were searching for.
I am.
Who the fuck am I?
Yeah. Yeah.
In the process of writing, in the process of writing the book, did you solidify who you were and being comfortable with it, or did that already happen and that's why you wrote the book?
No, actually, I just started writing. I just thought, oh, I'm going to write a book. And so I just promised myself I would sit down and write every day. And a book just came out of me. I was like, wow, that's like my life story, right?
Yeah.
But no, I noticed how it always, like, I mean, even when I was 6 years old, I was talking about my boyfriend. I was like, it was always about relationships. So, sorry, Mike, you didn't make it, but
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
couldn't name everybody in the
Yeah.
book. But the, like, you know, all the times that I was just thinking something outside of me was going to make me whole and complete, and it's not. But you know, I've had to deal with that on different levels too, like being as gifted as I am and as weird as I am, like being able to love myself and be whole and complete in that as well, right? As soon as I broke the relationship mold thing that I was doing, then I had to work on the spiritual piece.
Got it. And I mean, you get paid as a life coach when you choose to.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the, I guess, the most common term. But I do readings. I help people with their own life discovery sessions. Yeah. So,
Is
but
part
yeah,
of their
life
homework
coach is the best way.
is part of their homework reading your book so that they can understand and see an example of that journey.
No, not necessarily, but I do have, like, I even have staff that work for me that I'm like, yeah, because they're dealing with some of the stuff I've already dealt with. So I'm like, have you read my book yet? And they're like, no. I'm like, maybe you might want to do that, but you can't really force anybody to do anything. So I make it a suggestion, especially if somebody's struggling with self-love and self-acceptance and, you know, in the relationship cycle that's not healthy or not working for them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I swear my brother died May 14th of 2013. My oldest brother. And I swear and then we got a dog that he's a miniature husky. He's called a Klekai. And he has party eyes, so one's brown and one's blue. And
mhm.
so, and my brother, who had the measles when he was born, he was considered a rubella baby, and so he could barely blind in one eye, and can kind of see out of the other. So he always had glasses, but his one eye was always a little bit smaller, that like the pupil or whatever, and so it was always kind of off. And I'm telling you, once a week I will catch Kodiak is the name of this dog. I'll catch
Mhm.
his eyes and god damn, it looks like my brother. I'll refer to him as my brother fucking with me in the way that he plays or the way that he interacts with me. I
Yeah.
swear to God, I'm looking at my fucking brother every time I see that dog. It just cracks me up. Sounds ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
but cracks me up.
No, I think that's actually true. I mean, they'll sometimes they can become animals, but they can also use animals to communicate. And I always do tell people that if you feel somebody or you like their name comes out of your mouth, then they're there with you. Because I do have people that come to me and they're like, I really want to see the spirit realm. And I'm like, it'll depend on how open you are, whether you really want to see, right? Because I've had people see and then shut it down because they're like, no, never mind, I don't want to see. So now it's like, so if they start seeing, then I'm just like, okay, then you really were ready. But if you don't see, then there's something in you that's like, yeah, no, I don't want that. But the spirits will communicate with you in so many different ways. I mean, birds, you might just feel it like a hand on your shoulder, or like they're there with you. Your senses are picking them up all the time. It's just a matter of, are you paying attention? So I love that he's using your dog to get to you.
I was always close with Mike. I mean, we lived together when I moved back here. So Mike and I were always close. But Eric, Eric was always, him and I were always the closest for 30 years or whatever, for whatever reason. And it was on a Mother's Day. So this is what's ironic, is that both my brother and Eric died on May 14th, just 4 years apart. And so it was Mother's Day. I was sitting with my in-laws and my wife at a restaurant, and my phone rang, and I didn't have that number in my phone, but I could see what city it was in, which is where Eric was from. And his divorce was like just final in the past week or something like that. And so I'm like, well, that's weird. So I answered the phone, and it was his ex-wife. Now it was his ex-wife, and she was hysterical. And so I get up from the table and I walk outside, and she's like, he's gone. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he had died that morning, fell asleep drunk at the wheel, went through a guardrail, burned up in his car, all this kind of stuff. And so I walk outside and I sit down on this bench right outside the restaurant. And she is telling me all of this, and I get off the phone. So I'm just sitting there with my thoughts for a second. And I swear to fucking God, and we're on the water. So it's not like this is for sure something, but there's a duck. A duck walks up to my feet, hops up on the fucking bench next to me, and just looks in my eyes. A fucking duck. And I just looked down at this duck, and I looked at that duck, and I said, you motherfucker. And then it hopped down, flew off. And I'm like, I still to this day believe that stupid motherfucker chose a duck to come down and sit down next to me. He didn't say anything. I mean, I didn't feel like I was being told anything other than, and then someone else would say, well, the duck was just hungry. It approaches people all the time. People feed it all day long. You were sitting there next to a restaurant, blah, blah, blah. But I will never not believe that son of a bitch just hopped up there and looked at me. And
any communication that they're giving us is just, I'm not gone, right? The body dies. Yes, it does. But the being never dies. So he's just not gone. And, it's like, using a duck and a dog. And, it's like, just to remind you, hey, the body died, but I'm still here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure I'm pretty closed off to all of it for whatever reason. Who knows? I just, I guess there's a couple of animals in my life that make me feel like someone's fucking with me.
That's awesome.
Oh well. So I just I so enjoyed your article in OM magazine. I think that it was, and I will check out your book just because I wanna see what that story was. Do you still have? I mean, do you need to go? We've been doing this for an hour and 23 minutes. How much time do you have?
I'm good.
So, in that article, you talked about, and you even mentioned it. You talked about Africa, and that you've. So I'm assuming that somewhere from birth to 30, or maybe even after 30, you can tell me. But you talked about living on a cruise ship. So how long were you on a cruise ship, and how old were you?
Yeah, the cruise ship, I think, was around 26, 27. And I actually only ended up doing that for a summer. I was like, okay, I had the experience. I got to see 21 islands in Greece, Turkey, Spain, Germany, Switzerland. Not on the cruise ship, of course.
You were cruising around as a guest? Or you were working on the cruise ship?
I was working, yeah. So I love to travel, and at the time I had credit card debt from my first divorce, and I was like, I didn't know how I could ever travel, and I found out I was bartending at a bar that was on a marina, and that's where I learned about cruise ship, or these like yachts, basically mega yachts. It's not a cruise ship; it's a mega yacht. And I worked on the mega yacht, 125 feet, for 3 months, and we just cruised around the Mediterranean. So
Got
it's a
it.
great way to travel and work and make some money. And I got out of debt while I was gone too, so that was cool.
Nice. And saw some really cool shit.
Yeah, saw some great places. Got to, yeah. I wasn't really doing a lot of drugs at that time, but I was still drinking quite a bit. So, yeah. But
So
hey,
that wasn't necessarily part of your spiritual journey. It was part of your life journey.
right? Yeah, that was more of the early days of. That was before 30. That was definitely like still trying to find myself. I came back from that, and that's when I was like, I still don't know what I want to do with my life. And a friend of mine said, "Why don't you go to massage school? You can make some good money, and while you figure out what you want to do." And then massage school was where I started to feel like, oh, I think I'm on the right track.
Right.
So yeah, I'm headed in the right direction at least. So yeah.
Got it. And do you think that all the drugs and alcohol were you just battling the confusion, battling not the unknown of you just not being settled in with who you were?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you psychologically look at it that way, but to me, I was just having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was dancing, and I enjoyed that time of my life. I really did. But I just knew physically my body couldn't handle it anymore. I was pushing the limits there for sure.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you look back psychologically, I was still trying to escape. But then that started to like open me up in a way that, again, started to open my sight in a way. And I was like, I think maybe there's more to life than this. What I've created is this fun little bubble I'm in.
But more than anything, you were just having fun. That's
Yeah,
what it is,
I was
right? You
having,
were
yeah,
just fucking
totally.
cruising, having fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I had people years later who'd ask me like, "What's fun for you?" And I had to like work to find that after I stopped dancing, and because I was I part dan I don't know how to explain that. It was party dancing. It wasn't like I was, I didn't go do ballet or something, but I love to dance. So
Got it.
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife is in a line dancing phase currently. That's been not a phase. It's just, I mean, she absolutely loves it and has been doing it for over a year now, and does it, I don't know, a few times a week, and cruises around with a group of ladies, and they just go for it. She just has such a great time with it.
That's fun. Yeah, I actually started with line dancing, and then it turned into clubbing. So.
God. Yeah. Well, yeah. There's some partying that comes along with clubbing.
Yeah.
All right. So what about Africa? You mentioned Africa too. How long were you in Africa, and what part of Africa?
So Africa, I did Kenya and Tanzania. Traveled around Tanzania a little bit. I actually went to Africa to be on some volunteer projects, but for some reason the volunteer projects fell through. But Africa was after my second divorce, and my second marriage was actually when I thought I had found the one. So when that fell apart, I went to Africa to kind of find myself, soul search, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And ended up just there a few months as well. And then finally was like, okay, these volunteer projects aren't coming together. And, I'm now running out of cash as well. So it's time for me to head back. Both times I sold everything I owned pretty much, and went off halfway across the world, and then I'd have to come back and like rebuild and buy a car and start over. So
Yeah, that is an absolute lifetime of experiences for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a lot of people don't even leave their state. So.
Or their small town. I mean, it's just mind blowing. Some of the people that I went to school with in Fairbanks are still in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Yeah.
What an isolated place to live in. Oh my God.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to get out. Okay.
Do you have a favorite memory of your time in Africa? Is there anything that stands out as boom?
Yeah, I did stay for a little while at a church retreat, and the children there I also stayed on the beach. Like the children didn't speak. We didn't speak the same language, but like I'd walk on the beach and I'd be picking up shells, and they'd like bring me shells. It was just one of the sweetest connections without words. They were so proud when they brought me a shell, So
Right.
it was really neat.
Knew you would be excited, proud of themselves.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah. And they get to contribute to me, and it was beautiful, really. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, let me see. Hey, I'm sorry. Let me check all my 3 pages of notes here that I wanted to make sure that I talked to Venus about. Let's see. When the first time that the unknown pulled at you during that massage, was it scary? Like, was the first feeling in your stomach that you had, were you scared or were you curious?
Yeah, I call myself the why kid. I'm always like, why is that? Or why are they doing that? Or like, I'm curious. So I was curious. And as long as, and I was actually doing Reiki, not massage the first time, but
Okay.
when I was doing Reiki and the spirit walked in, I was like, that's weird. A spirit just walked in the room, and he was like, great, tell me about him. So he was open-minded, and then I described him. But my initial response was still fan-fucking-tastic. I'm a medium.
That's awesome.
So then I resisted it for a few years. So I'd be okay if I was massaging somebody and a spirit would come in the room. But then I never didn't tell my mom. My mom and I were really close. And for 3 years, I barely talked to her because I felt like I couldn't tell her. So it was a tough time. And I started to get depressed. And I just knew I was starting to get depressed because I wasn't accepting of this new capacity that I had been given. So.
Is your mom still with us?
She is, yep.
And she knows 100% of everything that you're about right now?
Yeah, she does now, yes. So 3 years after that, I did my own self-imposed vision quest in Sedona. Learned that there's people out there crazier than me. So I was like good with my gifts. And I called my mom on the way home. And I said, are you sitting down? She said, yeah.
Yeah.
But what was funny was she's like, some of it surprises me, some of it doesn't. Did you really think I wouldn't love you anyway? And I'm like, I guess I did. But then I was like, what do you mean some of it doesn't surprise you? And she's like, well, your grandmother had a gift. And I was like, why didn't anybody ever tell me?
Right. Yeah. Hey, thanks.
Like, yeah. Like, okay.
On a side, I've heard about Sedona. Is there some collective energy in Sedona that is stronger than other places in the world? Is there something about Sedona or somewhere in Sedona that is somehow connected?
Yeah. So in Sedona, there's definitely what are called vortexes. So those are just spiritual energy centers. There's been just the whole area is inundated with healers, readers, anybody in the spiritual realm, like doing their own unique stuff. And I just felt, intuitively guided that that's where I needed to go. And I did a sweat lodge while I was there, and, met some other people doing their thing. And so, but that's also where that dark spirit, the fear left. Because I think up until then, the 3 years of resisting it was fear-based. Like, I don't want to see dark energies. I mean, I'm a rose-colored glasses girl. Everything's on the positive. I didn't want to see the darkness. Right? Now I see the darkness and I just laugh at it because it can't hurt me. So
is the darkness kind of like when you said, well, maybe you were a serial killer in a different life? Is the way you see the darkness that, and forget the terms good and evil, but there are people that just are fine with doing bad shit. So when you think of the dark energy is just that energy or that person or whatever is just okay with doing shitty things. Is that dark energy? Is that what you think about it?
Well, most of the dark energy that I see is hired or created by the person it's attached to. So the dark energy, like the dark energy in the corner, it wasn't malicious or evil or didn't have anything. But then when it, like, I invited it towards me and it touched my aura, my energy field, it just turned into bubbles of light. It felt like it said thank you as it left. Like it was just that instant of going, oh, this energy is not out to get me. It's just kind of stuck here, because people have beliefs that they're creating. Like, again, all negativity and beliefs and darkness, I believe, is created by us as humans. So.
Got it. That's really interesting. That is super interesting. Well, how do people find you? How do people find the either aspect of the academy, or how do they find you on any of the avenues that they are listening to this and are like, holy shit, I need to contact this fucking person. I need Venus in my life.
Awesome. The best way is venuscastleberg.com. There's, free stuff on there. You can find out about the Ascending podcast on there. You can book a call with me. I do free initial consultations for Psychic University. So if you're like, that's something I think I want to do, then, you could schedule a call with me and we'll have a chat about it and see if it's a fit for you. So.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
And then if anybody out there is already spiritually awakened and they want more support, I also have a free Facebook group called Bridging Realms, Becoming Spiritually Gifted. So you can request, you have to answer a few questions to get in, but you answer a few questions and then you can come in the group, and the live stream goes there every week as well. And I put other contributions in that group. So. Got
it. Okay. Well, I'm going to try to pimp out some free advice. This is the last thing I'm going to ask you. So someone that's probably just naturally closed off, I guess. Mm-hmm. If I walked into the living room and I grabbed I call them tarot. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, tarot. So it's like potato.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So if I walk out there and I grab my wife's tarot cards that her and my daughter bought at some store because they thought it was interesting or cool. If I grab that, I set it down, I mix them all up, and I pull 3 cards out of there and lay them down. What meaning does it have, since I'm not even really that open of a person? Does it have any meaning whatsoever? What is your advice to someone in that situation?
Well, that's really great. I love that. 2 things. I really encourage people, because it's what I teach, right? To trust your initial instinct. So when you flip over the cards, what do you feel when you see them? Like, do you feel good? Do you feel bad? You're like, that doesn't look so good, or that, right? Like, trust your initial instinct first. And then secondly, most, not all, but most tarot cards, most oracle cards, they have a book that goes with them.
Yep.
So pull out your book and just read the book.
Yes.
I think questions are great. So like, you could just lay 3 cards out and see what the universe is trying to say to you, but you could also just be like, I do have a question. I'm wondering about this partnership, or I'm wondering about this job, or like anything at all. And then draw 3 cards and see, again, what's your initial, do you feel good when you see those cards? You're like, because tarot is very expressive in the imagery. And you'll know by the images you see. You're like, oh, that actually looks like a light, happy card. That looks like a dark card. That looks like, the one with the heart and 3 swords in it. Probably some grief.
Yeah. And so to the people that aren't, so the people that are just experimenting, or no different than me, that they exist and we find it interesting and we occasionally fuck with it. So when that person, whoever they are across the world, pulls those and you look at that and you're like, Jesus, well, that seems shitty. I mean, what are you supposed to do with that? Because what I pick up from you is that it's almost like you're in control of it. So if you're not really open, is it even really telling you something? But the fact that you were willing to do it in the first place must mean that
You're looking for something.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you're probably looking for some sort of validation or some sort of confirmation, or right. But again, if you see it, your initial instinct is that seems shitty. Okay, great. Now grab the book. Because the book will give you, yes, there are some negative aspects to this, but this is what the positive outcome will come. And if we're coming to a close, I can even leave you with this, because everything in your life, good, bad, or ugly, is working out in your favor. The universe is always conspiring for you, never against you. So even though you might have something that doesn't, you read the cards, you're like, that's kind of crappy, or I'm not really getting a good vibe off of this. This too is something that is working out for you.
It's a step in the right direction, right?
Yes.
That's pretty much how you feel about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Everything is, you ask for something, maybe cognitively, maybe not cognitively. Maybe you have some dreams in your life, you have some goals, you have some things you want to create, maybe things that you set in motion before you were even born. But when you have those targets or those goals, then the universe is going to rearrange itself to help you get to what you've been asking for. So I always encourage people, ask for more, because the universe is happy to help you get more. You just have to ask for it.
Got it. Well, we might have to do this again someday.
Okay, that sounds great.
We might have to have another conversation. I mean, I could ask questions about dreams and, till I was blue in the face. I mean,
Awesome. And I don't, if you have comments or whatever, that I think if you want to post that article below in your comments, feel free. You can definitely share that.
Okay. Yeah. I will
podcast notes. Yeah.
I will have someone that is more computer literate than I am help me get that link and put it associated with this episode. So again, it's nice to see you, and
great to see you.
I think it's awesome, everything that you have going on and everything about you. I just think is super cool. I'm very happy for you, and I genuinely appreciate you doing this with me.
Thank you. That was my pleasure and honor.
Have a great Saturday.
Bye.